everybody. My name is Michelle, and I am a married mom of 3 kids. And today I'm going to tell you the story about how I took my son out of our local high school and moved him to the community college to finish his high school diploma. Um, so back in 2019, he was in the 10th grade. He had gone to the zoned middle school, just the middle, whatever we have to go through for our address. And that high school that he was going to was the school that we also were zoned to. He went there in 9th grade. He was in the marching band. He was a fairly good student. He made mostly A's and B's on some of the difficult classes. He made a C here and there, but for the most part, he was a good student. He made the National Junior Honor Society when he was in middle school, and when he was in 9th grade, he took with the standard pre-AP classes. What about his high school experience? I wouldn't say he loved school. Kids don't really talk about whether they love school or hate it. Like, they just look at it, it's something obligatory that they have to do. And so he went to school. He had friends. He had the community, especially the band community was a good sized community for him. He had, friends that he'd visit. They come over. They go do stuff. We have relatives in the area, and he had, some cousins his same age that went to that same school. The school experience, I think at that time, maybe there were 3,000 plus students going to his high school, so it was a very big school. He felt a bit like a number in a lot of ways. The sports is a big thing at that school. If you're not doing sports, you're just kind of in the background. But he was taking, at the start of 10th grade, 2 pre-AP and 2 on-level courses. And he was, I guess you have 7 classes in high school, so he had his 4 regular classes, and then he had 3 electives. One of them was band, one of them was auto mechanics, which he really enjoyed, and another, like a CAD class, and engineering, I guess, classes they're calling it, where they learn a little bit about drafting and whatnot. His freshman year, the course of all the classes being honors or pre-AP and AP was a lot for him, along with marching band. Marching band had practice every single day in the fall semester. They had to be out until 6 o'clock. There just wasn't a whole lot of study time, and his grades did suffer from that a little bit. But it's just something that kids work through. I felt like he was not the best student that he could have been, but as parents, we see things in our kids that other people don't, and so I just let it go. In fact, in the summer between 9th and 10th grade, he went to a summer program, and I had to request a transcript, and that transcript had his grades through, I guess, the third 9 weeks of school, and it had a class rank calculated from after the first semester, and he was right in the middle. So if there were 1,000 kids, he was like 498 or 502, something like that. Like, he was really right in the middle of his class. So when school started in the 10th grade, and we decided we weren't going to go all AP, all honors, pre-AP, we just did, like I said, he did two on-level classes and 2 honors classes. He felt a lot more at ease. He kind of had his, he was vibing with his responsibilities for marching band and for classes, and whereas he didn't feel like school was particularly rigorous for him, he didn't feel like it was too easy. He had a little bit of free time to go do stuff outside of school. He didn't have to study all the time, and so he was okay. It was in that semester that the school was sending home information about dual credit. And so what is dual credit? Dual credit is where you take one class and you get a credit in two places. One at the high school, which you need to graduate, but then also one for the college, the community college. And why that's important is because you can accelerate how long it takes you to finish college if you're planning to go by taking the classes that are more rigorous than the high school classes and having that class count for both. Okay, so were dual credit classes offered at his school. So just as a course of his regular day in the 7 periods that he took, he could take an English class or a history class or a math class, and that class, though it was taught by a high school teacher, would count for high school and community college. So those classes were mostly available to kids who were in 11th and 12th grade, not 10th grade. So I just shot an email out to the counselor and I said, hey, is there anything available for 10th graders to take? And she said no, that was kind of it. I was intrigued by this dual credit stuff, and so I looked into it a little bit further, and I learned that you could take a dual credit class after school. Like you could just enroll in the class and do it online in the evening. And since that was, a kind of pretty chill semester for him, I thought, we're going to try this. So we applied to the college. There was an exam you had to take. It wasn't a particularly hard exam. He went and took the exam. He passed the exam. And we enrolled him in a class. That class cost me $275. So we had to go get advised at the college, and they enrolled him in the class. I paid, and he started the class. He took the class. It was a full semester long class for the 16 weeks, and he finished that class in about 5 weeks. So there were some things about the class that he really loved. One was that it was online and that he could take it at his own pace. It was asynchronous, so he could go log in at night, he could log in the weekend, he could log in at lunch on his phone or his tablet or whatever. And he really liked that flexibility of the time that he get to decide the time that he was going to take the class, right? He liked the platform. So they have a very nice, at our local community college, the platform is really nice. You get to message the teacher on there. Like there's, these discussion groups where sometimes a teacher would assign, an assignment would be that you had to go and post your opinion about something, and then you had to also respond to someone else's post. So they had these little mini discussions about things. The class that he was taking was a music appreciation class, and because he was in band, he already knew a lot about music, and it was a topic that he really cared about. There were lots and lots of resources in this class. They had to listen to music. He was able to learn a lot about genres that he hadn't studied before, and he just found it so interesting. And like I said, it was a 16-week class. He finished the class in about 5 weeks, and he was really satisfied. He made an A, and I was super satisfied, and I thought, hey, we're going to, just keep going with this. Every semester we can take like a class in the evening until you're able to take advantage of the classes that are available at the school. Well, a couple weeks after he finished the class, that's when COVID started. That's when the lockdown started. That's when no one could go to school. School was just on hold. At the community college, at the high school, elementary, everybody was at home. And so my oldest son was a senior at the time, and he was also taking 2 classes at the community college. He went to a private high school, but the classes stopped for him, and so we just had a lot of time to really kind of regroup and talk about it. When classes started back at the high school, when they were preparing to start classes back, they told us that it was going to be optional. And it was optional, because they didn't really know who could join online. Not everybody had internet access. Not everybody was prepared. It just kind of, you guys were there. It kind of hit everybody by surprise. So they explained that, if you were happy with the grades that you had made the previous 9 weeks, then you could just coast on those grades, and if you didn't have access, not to worry about it. But they were going to, give students who had access and who wanted to improve their grade to go ahead and do that. So they took the first 9-week grades and they applied them across the board for the second 9 weeks, unless you attended some of these online sessions where you could raise your grade. So he had made all A's that first 9 weeks, so he was wholly unconcerned about attending some of those online sessions. And it was when the teachers were trying to, get their act together about these online sessions. A lot of them had not been properly trained on how to offer a class online. They did not know how to operate Zoom. There just was so many issues. And so he decided, that those classes, were just a waste of time. So we decided he would enroll, in the second 8-week session with 2 more classes at the community college. So if you're not familiar with how community college works, right, they have a long semester the same way that a regular high school has. It's, 16, 18 weeks, however long. But they also have what they call these short semesters, in which the classes, instead of the class taking a full 16 weeks to finish, that they have an 8-week period and then a 1-week break in between, and then a second 8-week period. So the classes are the same courses, the rigor is the same, they aren't any harder, but there's more work to do because you're doing all that work in a shorter time frame. So at the time when the community college started back up with their second 8 weeks classes, he was able to get into 2 more classes. So we had to go back to the community college and get advised. And so that was when I learned that, if the school signed off on the paper, you could get a discount. So instead of having to pay full price that I paid for the first class, I got some kind of, discount where I only had to pay $70 per class. So he took those 2 classes. It was a U.S. government and a public speaking. He just really enjoyed the public speaking class. He had to record himself, doing all these different presentations, and he just really just found it to be quite nice. He had opportunity. Those classes also were online. He had the opportunity to read and kind of do things at his own pace. He really enjoyed that. And the assignments were just so much different than, just fill out a worksheet and turn it in like they were doing at the high school. So he was really thriving in that scenario. He took 2 more classes over the summer, another government class and an economics class, and he made A's in all 5 of those classes. So when school was getting ready to start back again in the fall of 2020, he said, I want to continue doing this. I'm going to enroll now that I can. I'll be junior. I can enroll in the dual credit classes that they have for juniors. Except that he wanted to take a chemistry class, and he wanted to take a particular, pre-cal and trig combination of classes that were not offered at the high school. So at the high school, you had to take the classes, the dual credit classes that were offered there. So I called to the district. I talked to the person who was over, the higher education coordinator, and he said, Miss Woodard, we want to help you. We want your son to thrive. I want you to go and have a meeting with the guy on the campus who's over all the dual credit and the guidance counselor. So we went back and forth a little bit, but we weren't able to come to an agreement because the school was very focused on making sure that their policies and that their rules were observed. What were their rules? You as a junior, he couldn't leave early. He couldn't come to school late. He couldn't take a reduced number of classes. So, this chemistry class that he wanted to take that was not offered, they offer biology, he should just take that. Like, well, he wants to be an engineer. Engineers don't need biology, they need chemistry, so we want to take chemistry. No. We don't offer chemistry. If he wants to take chemistry, he can take it online again at night like he did, the music appreciation. But, music appreciation and college chemistry are 2 different classes, right? And there was a lab with that chemistry class that you had to go to. And so we couldn't come to an agreement, right? So they were expecting him to take all of those 7 classes, and then the class at night. He wouldn't have gotten to participate in marching band, but they didn't really care. Like, it just, it wasn't their problem, and their rules were so rigid. Even at the district level, they just basically said, listen, we're not concerned about making this situation good for your son. We're concerned about our rules being followed. So I went to my son and I said, hey, listen, you're going to have to make a choice. You can go to school and take the classes that they have available and be in marching band and have a good time, or you can leave the school and take the class at the community college. You can't do both. So he quickly decided that he was just wanted to take the classes at the community college. He felt he was getting more out of that, and he would have more time. So we just unenrolled. I just sent them an email saying, hey, thank you. He's going to homeschool. So when you move your kid to community college, basically, even though you're not teaching them at home, they're taking all the classes there, you are participating in homeschool. So I had to make a transcript. I had to be responsible for our homeschool degree plan, which is really just the same degree plan that the high school had. I just had to tell the college, I had to sign an agreement with them between my homeschool and the college saying, this was my son's degree plan and these are the classes that he needs to take in order to graduate from high school, and explain, to the advisor on a semester basis, which class that he was taking at the college mapped to what class he needed to finish his high school requirements. And the community college was super flexible. I was able to modify that every semester, right? Like the way that he was taking classes, if he was only doing a 26 credit plan, which is the plan in Texas for students to graduate, like on this distinguished plan, is 26 credits. He probably would have finished that like the summer after his junior year. But they let me just keep going, just modifying it. If I put on there he needed 34 credits to graduate, they didn't care. Like, it was just really flexible. I was able to work with the advisor at the college to make sure that we were getting into the correct sections of the classes, that they would have certain classes that gave priority to the high school students. It just was a really great experience for me as a parent. There was some work involved in all of that, but in later videos I'm going to explain how to do this work. But back to my son, what was his experience? It was night and day from regular high school. So in the regular high school, he had to get up, at 5:30 in the morning to be on the bus stop for 6:15. He was there at school, got out like at 2:30 or something. Then he was there for band until 5:30. So literally like 12 hours. It's the first 12 hours of his day. He came home so tired to eat and try to finish all his work for his homework. And, we just didn't have good family time. Moving to the community college situation, the classes we did a hybrid thing where he took 4 classes in a semester, but he would take 2 at the college and 2 online. So he only ever went to school, physically left here and drove to the school 2 days out of the week, like Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday. And then the other days he was at home. He was helping with homework with his little sister. He was cleaning. He was doing, like, he was a functioning member of this household, not just a person who lives here that I was responsible for. And his attitude improved because he was able to get the sufficient amount of sleep. He started looking at school in a different way because it just wasn't this time suction like that. It just sucked the life out of him all day. He had teachers who were teaching because they wanted to be there. Every single teacher at the community college has a master's degree, as opposed to the teachers at the high school. It just was a different situation, right? Their excitement about the coursework that they were teaching, the expectations out of the student. At the high school, there were some teachers who literally expected nothing. Their expectations of these kids were so low. They didn't have any textbooks, so all of the effort to get the kids to learn was on the teacher, right? If the children didn't understand, then they had to stay after school explaining to him again. If they need extra help, the only extra help was going to come through tutoring, right? It's like everything was on the teacher. Whereas at the community college, it is on the student, right? Like, and the teachers had the expectation, like, listen, you want to learn this, you got to work. And so it just brought up his level of ownership over his own education. What, you know, the expectations of him were high, so he had to deliver. And he made A's in almost every class. So a couple semesters, he in the college chemistry trig, he made a B in those two classes, and he made a C in physics 2. This is like the calculus-based physics, like the hardest courses that he was taking. His last semester in high school, which was in the spring of 2022, he was able to get a job, a full-time job, which was kind of an internship at an engineering firm here in town. He went there all day. He only had to take 2 classes because that was all that was left, you know, on the degree plan. And he had a graduation at the college. We did a homeschool graduation here at our house, and it just was super successful. He went on to the university. He only ended up having to spend 2 more years. He's going to graduate with essentially a perfect GPA. He's made 1B in university. And so look at that compared to him being, you know, like in the middle of 1,000 kids at the high school. It just created such a change in him and really elevated him in terms of who he was and his learning and his motivation. Everything about his schooling improved after we made this change. And so I tell you guys all this to say that there's a lot of you out there whose kids are not thriving. They go to high school, you don't understand why they have to be there all day. You don't understand why, like some of the dumb classes that they have to take, they're out of 7 classes, only 4 are really required. And in some of those classes, they'll just tell you that they're just doing nonsense. So we had a group project and we sat around a day talking about something, doing work that they could have finished on their own in 20 minutes. They're spending 3 days on it. And on top of them not necessarily getting a lot out of these classes, the social situation is not what you would hope it was to be. And so there's just many things that would make a person say, you know what, my kid isn't doing that great in this environment. They're certainly not thriving. You know, you don't have a lot to lose to try it. The hard part is figuring out how to do it, what your responsibilities are, if you can afford it, because though there are many community colleges in Texas that have free tuition for dual credit high school students, not all of them do. So in these videos coming up, I'm going to make a series of videos to explain to you how to do this, how I did it, exactly what I did step by step, so that if you want to do it, you can too. Right? You at least would know what the process was, so that if there was a student in your home or connected to you who said, you know, like you see that they're not thriving, that you could try something different. And I also want to note that the kid doesn't have to be college bound. You can use the community college and all of their resources to do a certificate program, welding, electrician, whatever. All of those classes that they offer are available to you for the most part. So in the next video, I'm going to explain, you know, who is a candidate, because not every student who is, you know, 14, 15, 16 years old can do it. Many of them can, probably half could do it without a lot of support, but there are some challenges that you need to know about. There is a profile for a student who would fit this situation better than you know, that is a better profile than others. So I just want to give you the information. That's it. So stay tuned, and I'm going to be back and explain to you what you need to do.